Again, um, yeah, I just wanted to bring this up to everybody, and I know it's probably rehashing, a whole bunch of stuff that I've already put out there. Um, but I mean, the other day I was talking with, just a couple of friends, and one or two were transgender, one of them weren't. There was cisgender, and we were just talking, and the consensus basically, unfortunately, with some people in the transgender community is with everything that's going on now, people we're asking ourselves, should we stop? Should we stop transitioning? Should we stop everything and go back to the way that we were before? It's America is the land of the free, but are we free? No, we're not. I mean, we know everything that's going on, and especially as it's now, I mean, we're getting closer and closer to November with the midterm elections, and you know, the Mad King, he's kind of afraid that he's going to lose, and he wants to put ICE agents and federal agents, armed federal agents, at polling places to make sure that there's no voter fraud. Meanwhile, I think out of one study that I think looked at like 23 million votes that were cast over X amount of years, the number of fraudulent votes was 86. So non-starter, which we know that. Okay, but the big thing is, of course, coming back to transgenderism. Hey, I don't know if a lot of you know or heard, but in Kansas, and I know, okay, it's Kansas, it's not New York, yeah, it's Kansas. SB 244 invalidated driver's licenses for transgender individuals. Over 1,500 transgender individuals lost their driver's license, and even birth certificates became invalid. It has to note the sex that you were at birth in order for it to be valid. And there are a lot of us that when we do a name change, we change our documents, we change our marker on our driver's license and such, but now all of a sudden we're gone. We're invalid if we do that. And there was no grace period. There was no, okay, this is going to happen in 30 days, so start your process now. There was none of that. It was as of tomorrow, gone, like that. So there's that. Um, and I know the bill that was proposed in the House, HR 7661, was actually proposed by Mary Miller, who's a Republican representative for the state of Illinois. Because a lot of us are thinking, okay, well, a lot of this is happening in the South, not up here in the North. No, in Illinois, in the North, in Illinois. Mary Miller, and it was actually co-sponsored by 17 other Republican representatives. Um, to remove any teachings concerning gender dysphoria, transgenderism. It's the Stop the Sexualization of Children Act. Now, this was originally put out like back in the 60s, and I'm going to show you it now. Let me just drop this down. So, here it is. This is it. HR 7661, February 24th. And this is to amend the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965. So, okay, fine. If you look at the bill, what does it do? The prohibiting of funding for sexually oriented material. Okay, and what's the generalization of this? Okay, no funds under this act may be used to develop, implement, facilitate, host, or promote any program or activity for or to provide or promote literature or other materials to children under the age of 18 that includes sexually oriented material, including any program, activity, literature, or material that exposes such children to nude adults, individuals who are stripping, or lewd and lascivious dancing. Okay, you know what? I could go along with that. I don't want kids to be exposed to nude adults who are stripping and lascivious and lewd dancing, lap dances and stuff like that. Nobody wants that. I get it. But what are they amending? So now, of course, the funding is not they it will not prohibit the use of funding for standard science coursework, biology, botany, zoology, microbiology, human health, human anatomy, physiology, any texts of the world religions, classic texts of literature, classic texts of art, and it goes into what a definition is: classic works of literature, classic works of art. But then it gives a definition again of sexually oriented material. So the term means any depiction, description, simulation of sexually explicit conduct as defined in subparagraphs A and B, which is what I said. Lewd and lascivious dancing and stripping. What did they add? Involves transgenderism, gender dysphoria. So any piece of literature, any material that shows, writes about anything about gender dysphoria or transgenderism will not be funded. So this bill, yes, it was put out just this past month, February 24th, and it currently it was introduced. So it hasn't passed the House, it hasn't passed the Senate, and yes, everybody could go on and check everything, congress.gov, everything is here, okay? So yes, it's been introduced. And while you sit here and you could say, okay, well, Tam, well, it's been introduced. So doesn't mean it's gonna pass. And yeah, like I said, I think last year, 2025, there were 1,022 pieces of legislation that were presented. Yeah, a lot of them are still being worked. So it's like, how many really passed this? That doesn't matter how many actually pass. What matters is, why are we thinking about it? Why are these bills being put out in the first place? It's almost like I want to walk up to these people and say, what do you got against me? All I want to do is live my life. What do you got against me? And there's actually another one that's starting to be talked about in the House, that will restrict gender affirming care for all transgender individuals, not just minors, but adults. Gender affirming care for transgender adults. Now, if you don't know gender affirming care, go back a couple of videos where I explain it. Therapy, sitting down talking to a therapist, is gender affirming care. Yes, hormone therapy is gender affirming care. But you know what? The testosterone supplement that you see on TV with Doug Flutie throwing a football for men who have low testosterone, that's gender affirming care. That's okay. That's okay. Why is that okay? But what I'm doing is not okay. Well, the discussion around that was that gender affirming care for adults, transgender adults, causes mental instability and violence because they're afraid of all the mass shootings that are happening. Yeah. Okay. Well, some data. And I'm going to put these links in the description. So, according to the NIJ, the National Institute of Justice, again, I don't go to like Wikipedia, or I don't go to like Joe's website, anything like that, joe.com, the National Institute of Justice. Okay, they collected data of 172 mass shootings between 1966 and 2019. And they found the demographics of that. 97.7% were male, average age 34 years old. Out of those 97.7, 52% were white, 20% were black, and the other less than 10% mixed in Latina, Asian, Middle Eastern. Okay, 65% had a prior criminal record, and 63% had a history of violence. Now, if you sit there and say, okay, so how many transgender? Okay, so now we have to look at another study, go to fact check. Everybody loves using fact check, especially when the left is talking, the right are sitting there saying, well, gotta go facts. We have to check their facts. Okay, so factcheck.org. Transgender shooters. Okay, so they have a link from the Gun Violence Archives. Definition of mass shooting, where there are a minimum of 4 victims. Now, that doesn't mean 4 people that were, you know, KIL, they could have just been 4 victims that were wounded. Okay, but a minimum of 4 victims in a shooting incident. That's their definition. Between January of 2013 and September of 2025. So 12 years. With that definition of a minimum of 4 victims, there were 5,748 mass shootings. Okay? From January 2013 to September of 2025, where there are a minimum of 4 victims. 5,748 mass shootings. Well, now the question is, the people that committed those, how many of them were transgender? Since, the gender affirming care leads to all of this, mental disorientation and violence. Five, five out of 5,748, five of the people that committed these were transgender. 5 of them. So what's this whole thing about? This whole thing obviously is about the narrative and stuff like that. Yeah, Charlie Kirk. Oh, the great martyr, Charlie Kirk. Such a great Christian. He was asked on one of his things, how many transgender Americans were mass shooters, and he replied, too many. I It's all been conflated. Again, why? Why, and this is something that the people in my community are asking, why me? Why are you coming down on me? We're 1% of the population. Why are you coming down on me? What is it? And I'm putting this out to you guys. What do you think? Why is it the land of the free, but I can't be free just to live my life? That for me to be free to live my life, I have to stop transitioning. Cut my hair, let a beard grow. I have to stop all of this and go and revert back to the person that I was before. And granted, yes, at the beginning of my transition, and a lot of us do have doubts, and we say, why? And I remember talking with my ex-wife at the time. Why? Maybe I should just stop and just, it's early on and just stop. I didn't think I barely started hormone therapy and everything. And she just said to me, yeah, but would you be happy? And it's like, no. But for me to live my life now in this land of the free, I have to, I would have to go back to being a miserable human being, be depressed, suicidal. Come on. This is what we're thinking. It's, if you know somebody, who is transgender, you're a friend, you're an ally, just reach out, say, hey, how you doing? That's it. How you doing? Take action. Help us. Please, again, the midterms are coming up, if we even have them. If we even have them. Because, yeah, it could very easily come down an executive order saying that, declaring a wartime emergency and canceling all elections. But, well, that can't happen because that's unconstitutional. Well, since when has this administration cared about what's in the Constitution? It could very easily just happen. And that will be the end of it. November, that will be the end of it. No midterms. No midterms. It was spoke about a third term. Well, it's coming. It's coming. If we don't all stand up. We gotta act, vote. You gotta write your legislators. I mean, come on. This is all party line stuff. Why? And part of what I ask is why? What does he have? What skeletons are in the closets of all of these people that they just blindly follow? I don't get it. And especially me. Why me? That's the question that we're asking ourselves. Why me? And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. So, I mean, yeah, wear life gloriously because up until the last minute, the future is what you make it. But are we living this life gloriously? Are you helping to live this life gloriously? Sometimes I don't know. I don't know. Even my mother today saying, you know what? Why don't you you know, become a citizen of somewhere else, Ireland, Denmark, Sweden, whatever. This way you could go if you need to. Leave the country that I was born in because of all of this stupidity? It I mean, it is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And I just need your help. That's it. I need your help. Reach out to people that you know that are in the community. Ask them if they're okay. Take them out for a cup of coffee or whatever. Open up a bottle of wine, whatever. And sit and talk and understand what's happening. Yes, people vote. They vote on the issues that impact them. Don't vote on the issues that impact your community. That's it. There was this old proverb that, oh, it's like, civilization will prosper when men plant trees that they know they will never sit under. Even Proverbs says that a good man provides for his children's children. Do that. Don't just vote on what impacts you specifically. I mean, yeah, okay, think about that, but vote on what impacts the community and your neighbors, because you never know. One day somebody like me may not be your neighbor anymore. We'll be out talking on the porch, and then what's going to happen? A black truck is going to come up with guys with masks and automatic weapons are going to come and grab me and take me away and put me into a detention center. Why? Because I'm transgender. So please, just be aware, live your life gloriously, and help everyone else. Be kind to other human beings and help other human beings live their lives gloriously. Because then we all prosper and we all grow. So that's my rant for today. Thanks, guys.